Welcome to chess, ladies and gentlemen. I give you the Boy Scout salute. You know what I'm saying? All right, so I did go ahead and grab another game from the Chess Olympiad. So I have the round 10 game between Emre and Wesley So. Yes, all my people that are coming from the Philippines, as always, I will say mabuhay to you. Kamusta na aking makaibigan. I will say it is still morning, so magandang umaga, magandang hapon, magandang araw. You know, whatever time it is for you, wherever you coming from. Maraming salamat po sa nanonood ng aking video, aking makaibigan. Much appreciated, very much. And this is my first attempt at speaking Turkish. So one of them is very easy because I do have some Arabic knowledge. You know, in Arabic they say marhaban, and it is merhaba in Turkish. And then the other one's a little more challenging. It's a thank you, teşekkürler. I'm trying to say thank you very much for stopping by. So as always, if you do speak Turkish natively, you come across my video, feel free to critique and let me know if I didn't say it correctly. So like I said, merhaba and teşekkürler. My best little attempt. But if you guys are ready to go, man, let's take a look, see what we got for this game. Gotta line it up a little bit. Bam. All right, so we got D4, we got knight coming to F6, we got the move C4, E6, and my personal favorite, G3. We got the Catalan on the board. So Emre is like, bro, you know what? I'm going to play your own stuff against you because you guys know, any of you guys know that are Wesley So fans, he is a Catalan. Like, I mean, he got Catalan in his bag. But that was one of the first openings I kind of knew him playing was the Catalan. And he was just murdering everybody with it. So we do have the move D5. Bishop goes to G2. We see bishop to E7. We got knight to F3, castles and castles. And these are the exact lines that I follow myself. You know, no secrets. But I do vary when we get to this upcoming move. Pawn takes C4, and then we do have queen to C2, which is pretty much at this level, you're going to see queen to C2 always. I'm personally a knight to E5 guy. I really like it because not only does it immediately threaten that pawn on C4, but it does open up the bishop on this diagonal. And of course, you can't go B5 because bye-bye rook, right? And so, you know, you probably would see something like knight to C6. This is considered the strongest move, but I mean, it's very, very sharp opening. So bishop takes, pawn takes, and knight takes. Doesn't matter where the queen goes. Knight takes E7, queen takes, and then you do have queen to A4. And I love this. I literally just almost never lose with this. You know, you're going to be taking the pawn back. And the best thing about it is you have this isolated pawn as black. So, I mean, it's not like it's automatically lost, but, I mean, you do have a lot that you got to try to do as black. But anyway, like I said, pawn takes C4. We do see the move queen to C2. And, I mean, black has two options. They can either just let the pawn go immediately, or they can try to fight and see what they want to try to do. So Wesley So says, bro, I'm going to fight. I'm going to go A6. And then we do see the move A4. Because, you know, Wesley So's like, I'm trying, bro. And then Emre is like, no, you're not. So, you know, we got both players fighting for the same type of thing. We do see bishop to D7. We do see the move rook to D1. And then we have bishop to C6. And we kind of have like a little Fort Knox thing going on. For any of you guys that play E4 and play into the Rubinstein, you know, this is something that you probably see quite a bit. Bishop coming to D7 and bishop to C6. I know I play that a lot. We do see the move bishop to G5. We got B5. So Wesley So is fully intending to hold on to this pawn forever and just win the game. So we do see bishop taking F6, bishop taking F6, and knight coming to C3. We got queen over to E8. We do see the move D5. Pawn takes, knight goes to D4, you know, tossing that move in there first. The queen comes down to E5, and we do see the move E4. We got pawn takes E4 and knight takes E4, and then we do have the novelty of the game, which is rook down to A7. And I was telling you guys before about this little rook maneuver and stuff like that. I mean, it's actually a very legitimate move in this particular position. It doesn't, you know, kind of, you know, do anything bad, right? So backing up, after we see the knight taking E4, you got to be kind of careful because it can get pretty sharp. It's not like this variation is completely winning, but what you can possibly see is just bishop taking. And then after the bishop takes, you would be seeing automatically rook to A7 is literally the only move. And then you would probably see knight attacking the queen, just giving away that pawn on B2. But then you do see bishop taking H7. And, I mean, white is actually down quite a bit as far as pawns are concerned. But, I mean, they're going to kind of get some of these back. They're going to be doing what they need to do. And this is, as you guessed it, dead even. Even though you're looking like, what? There's no way it's dead even. Anyways, Like I said, after we saw knight takes e4, we did see the move rook to a7. And then we do have knight taking f6, queen taking f6, pawn taking b5, bishop taking g2, king taking g2, and then we do have the rook sliding over to b7. You know, it was kind of pinned right here for the moment, so of course you can't take there. So that is kind of like a recurring thing when you do go rook to a7. You know, if the knight isn't already developed somewhere and at least the queen or the other rook is protecting it, when you do go down to a7, it is an undefended square. So you kind of got to do something. So like I said, we did see rook to b7. We got pawn taking a6, knight taking a6. And we have actually reached the point in the game that if you do want to pause the video and guess what move Emre Can plays in this position, go ahead and do so. Okay, so it's not like, you know, a crazy explosive, like I'm knocking your head off move. Sometimes, you know, a game can be pretty even. So, you know, it is a little bit tough to, you know, try to find like, you know, a really, really great spot to stop this at. But I mean, this is a nice idea that is relevant in a lot of different types of games. You guys hear about the rook left all the time. So what Emre Can decides to do in this position, which is super logical, is just go rook to a3. So you are thinking of transferring the rook over and making it more active on at least one of these files. And then so we do see the move g6, just creating some lift for our king. And then we do see the move rook to f3. We got queen to b6. Queen does take c4, and you got to be a little careful in this position because you definitely can't just go grabbing pawns because you guys notice that this knight is like, bro, what about me? And you'd literally be losing the game. So you don't want to go ahead and do that. So we do see the move c5. Before you move the queen, you kind of want to inconvenience the knight just a little bit. And then we do see the move knight to e2 in the game. Now, a very nice variation on the side of that, instead of moving the knight immediately, is something that you want to try to think about when you're playing your games, right? Is, you know, of course, when you get attacked, the most logical things you're going to start thinking about is like, where can I move this piece at? Because I don't want to lose it, right? But one thing you should try to kind of work on is finding Zwischenzug moves, or what we call in-between moves, right? So trying to think, is there another move maybe I can make that'll create a threat to where I don't have to worry about my piece? Of course, if you threaten, you know, if one of your pieces gets attacked, and you can find a way to threaten checkmate, of course, you know, the opponent has to do something about checkmate. They're not just going to take your piece, right? So instead of actually just retreating the knight immediately, something that was really nice to do is actually swing rook over to b3 first. And it's always in an effort to try to, like, you know, dislodge the protection of this knight. Because if you can swing this queen somewhere, I mean, you just pretty much have a rook for a knight for free. So the best move that black can do in this position is solve both of those problems, going knight to b4, and then the knight goes back down to f3, and then you do see the move rook to e8. And like I said, I mean, even though it doesn't really, you know, white definitely has a really nice position here, but just in general, you know, whenever you do become attacked, you want to be calm and say, all right, cool, let me just think about what's going on. You know, so don't be so focused on that piece that's being attacked that you miss other possible good moves. But that is a kind of, you know, a nice little scenario. But like I said, we did get in this position where the knight just went ahead and just came back to e2. We got the queen stepping up to b5 now because the knight is not protecting that square, and that was something else that was important. Queen takes b5, rook takes b5, and then we do have the rook going up to d2. We got knight back to c7. We see knight up to f4. The knight goes to e6. We got knight takes, pawn takes, and then we do swing the rook over to a3. You know, we don't particularly want to trade down in this situation because there's still a little bit of life in the situation. I mean, we do have some outside pawns, and, you know, so it's not just completely drawn, right? So the rook does go to a3. We see rook down to f7. We got the move h4. I mean, you know, you get in a position where things are kind of locked. So it's like, you know, start to push some pawns. You know, try to get, you know, push yourself forward into the board a little bit. So we do see rook f going to b7. We got rook to a8 with check. The king does slide down to g7. We do see the move a rook to c8. And it is actually in this position that the players agree to a draw. Now, I know what you guys are thinking. You guys are like, wait a minute, man. Like, there's a bunch of pieces left on the board. Like, why would they agree to a draw? Well, I can show you I'll just show you one example as to why they would draw in this position. Now, I was telling you guys before that, you know, you kind of have like some pieces over here, right? You know, you got double rooks and stuff like that. So, I mean, it can't be completely drawn. Well, basically, this pawn cannot be held as white. This pawn, if you're going to attack this pawn cannot be held as black. Your hope for either side to make any progress and try to basically win the game is holding on to one of these 2 pawns. Because once you let go of these 2 pawns, these 3 pawns and these 3 pawns are pretty much on the same side of the board. You're probably going to trade down a set of rooks, and you are going to get in a position, whether you have knights, bishops, rooks, whenever you do simplify things to where pawns are only on one side of the board, you greatly increase the drawing chances because the kings are able to, you know, kind of hang out in a smaller area. When everything is spread out across the board, it makes things much more difficult. So if I give you guys a sample variation, of course, there's like 5 or 6 different like moves for each side in this position. But just to give you guys an example, if you do see rook taking b2 to start everything off, you would see rook taking b2, and then rook taking c5. And this literally just comes, you know, to what I just got done saying. These pawns are contested by these pawns, not the king, but these pawns. And I mean, basically each side just has to make sure that they're playing, you know, just very solidly, just very safely. You know, this king can pretty much hang out here forever. You know, there's not really much you're going to be able to do with these pawns because, I mean, we're just going to be trading down further. And I mean, neither side is really in any danger at all. So one side, I mean, this is something that Magnus Carlsen would play through and, you know, wait till his opponent blundered and just win the game. But not everybody wants to do that. Magnus Carlsen is definitely in a class of his own as far as that is concerned. But that is that game. Kind of short and sweet. So you you guys can see why I skipped it first. I was trying to get more exciting games for sure. But I appreciate you guys very much. Teşekkürler for anybody coming from Turkey. Meron salamat aking makaibigan, and I will see you guys next time.